Hey there, good afternoon. This is Nikki Burnett. I'm a functional nutritionist. My practice is Taste Life Nutrition. I wanted to finish our conversation from yesterday. Let's see, forgot the title of the article that I read is called 20 Nutrition Facts That Should Be Common Sense But Are Not. And it's a really good article. I agree with most everything that he says, but I do want to dig in a little bit deeper into some of the things that he says. And so 20 of them for one live post is just a little bit too much. So I broke it up and we're going to finish today and start with number 11. So let's get going. Number 11, weight loss supplements almost never work. I would totally agree with that. What happens a lot of times, besides the fact that weight loss supplements can be a gimmick or they don't work or they make you jittery, what do? If they make you not hungry, well, you might lose weight, but are you actually losing fat or are you losing muscle tissue? Probably losing muscle tissue if you're not eating enough calories. We have to have calories to function. So a good way to think about an equation to hold on to for yourself, to know how many calories you need. And I am not a calorie counter. I don't ask my clients to count calories. I think it's counterproductive. But for an understanding of your own body at what you weigh right now, what you want to think about is your body weight times 10. So if I weigh 114 pounds, I am going to, my baseline, the very minimum that I need is 1,400 calories a day. And this doesn't include exercise, walking around, my constant research, running from meeting to meeting and things like that. So you want to add on to that another anywhere from 200 to 500 calories or so, depending on your workout schedule, if you're doing yoga, what you're doing that day. This is the minimum. So if you're trying to lose weight and you're not eating enough calories, your body is going to go into starvation mode and hold on to that fat. Okay, so really, really important to remember that we must eat. We must eat in order to lose weight, but we have to eat the right foods. I'll get a little bit deeper into that here as we move on into one of his questions. So it bugs me that for so many years that we think that, for one, a calorie is a calorie. And again, I'll get into that deeper in a little bit. And two, that we need to not eat or restrict calories in order to lose weight. So unhealthy, and never, ever, ever is it sustainable. We can't do it because we're hungry and we want to eat. It's a natural inclination is to eat. It's survival, right? Okay, I beat that one to death. Number 12, health is about way more, sorry, I can't read. Health is about way more than how much you weigh. I wonder it's confusing. Anyway, yes, I think that that's very true as well. I think that, when we are overweight, even if we're underweight, we put so much on the way that we look to others. And hey, Tanya, how are you? Great. Call me later. Health is so much more about what we weigh and what we look like to others. It's about how we feel, what we're putting into our bodies. If we're moving, Tanya, you would know that. Tanya Meekum, if y'all haven't seen her, she is a crazy, amazing personal coach. So look her up. She's awesome. She's here in Denver. It's been a while. Anyway, so we want to really focus about what we're putting in our mouths, what we're putting on our bodies and in our environment, because so many of these things, whether we're eating right or not, the outside things can also make us hold on to weight. So things like xenoestrogens, so say pesticides, herbicides, the chemicals that are in our food, the chemicals that we clean our environment, our home, our outside with, these things can, they're considered xenoestrogens, which means they're estrogen mimickers. And so men and women, we both have estrogen receptor sites on all cells of our body. And so what happens when these estrogen mimickers come in, they bind to these receptor sites and don't allow our natural innate estrogens, our endogenous estrogens, to do their job. So we end up with these crazy hormone imbalances, both men and women, and it's a big problem. And so this can make us hold on to weight. There is also, let's see, stress. Stress can make us hold on to weight if we are in this place of chronic stress, whether it's work or life or whatever it is. Our cortisol levels remain chronically elevated, and so cortisol is really important because it can be anti-inflammatory, and it can help us to do the things like in a stressful situation, if we're being robbed or chased or whatever the case may be, helps give us that extra oomph to get away or to lift a car if we need to, things like that. But if we are in this chronically stressed state because of work or life, and we don't bring those cortisol levels down, then cortisol ends up becoming catabolic and inflammatory. So the body becomes inflamed, and then instead of getting rid of fat, then you get rid of muscle tissue. That's what catabolic means. Your muscle tissue, you're losing muscle tissue. Your body's essentially using the muscle tissue instead of the fat. And so there are lots and lots of things that can interfere with weight loss that's beyond just food. So I want to tell a story about a client that I have. I love this story. It's one of my favorite stories. She came to me. She was a bit overweight, came to me, but she was not concerned about her weight. She had some hormone issues, some fatigue, some other stuff, and she was just like, I just need to get healthy. And it took a little bit of time for her to really find her groove and to find the things that worked for her. And we worked together for quite some time. But I'm going to tell you that once she found her groove, found the foods that worked for her, started moving more regularly, and took the stress out of the weight loss, she lost 60 pounds. And it's the most exciting thing because it just came naturally. So these lifestyle, these slow lifestyle changes, so they were manageable for her. And it was just the most beautiful thing, and she looks amazing, and I'm just super excited. So sometimes it just takes a little bit of time to find your place, and it will happen. So we all have to work on it. I've been working on my own health and wellness and what my body needs and research and all these things for 25 years, as long as I've been interested in health and nutrition. And we're always going to evolve and modify, especially as more and more information comes out. So much conflicting information that we need to learn what the real information is for our bodies. Not for anybody else, but for us. Okay, moving on to the next one. Okay, this is the one that I love. Calories count, but you don't necessarily need to count them. Like I said earlier, I do not have my clients count calories. There's a rare occasion where we might want to count fat if someone has the correct genotype and they want to move into a ketogenic diet. Then I will work with them on how much fat intake how much fat they need to create that place of ketosis, to bring them into ketosis. And so it takes work, and it takes figuring it out. It also takes testing, and so, to test your ketones and see where you are. So this is a really specific way of working with the body. And so I'm not going to get into the keto diet right now, but there are times when it's necessary. Sometimes when we just need to understand our body and our body's needs, then, maybe counting for a period of time, a week, maybe a couple of weeks, might be necessary. But more than that, what happens? You get stressed and you get mad and you start to count the calories. I'm getting too many calories, or I'm not getting enough calories, and it just adds more stress. And that's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to create more stress. We have enough stress in our lives. We want to take that stress back. We want to understand what good food is and what bad food is. Because the good food, I don't care how many calories it is, the body's going to know what to do with it. The bad food, I don't care how many calories it is. If it's 10 calories of sugar or processed fats, then the body is not going to know what to do with it, and it's going to react. It's going to have an immune response, or it's going to hold on to this nastiness. It's going to create inflammation. So we need to not count calories and fats usually. We need to understand what good food is and what the right foods are, and what the right foods are for us. Just because blueberries are good for some people doesn't mean they're good for everybody in the world. Now, it's hard for me to understand not loving or blueberries not feeding us. But I know, specifically, I did a sensitivity test on my mom back several years ago, and she was sensitive to blueberries. Why? She was just having an immune response to it, so we cut it out for a little bit, and then we bring the blueberries back in, and not an issue. But when we're trying to work with certain health statuses, and we know something could make the body react, we want to take that reactive something away for a period of time to bring the body back to balance. So let's see. So understanding what real good food is, understanding healthy fats, big difference in healthy fats and unhealthy fats. We must have fat. Big difference also in healthy proteins and unhealthy proteins. And I'm not talking between lean meats and fatty meats. I'm talking about where the source of the meat, where it comes from. Grass-fed, pastured meats. These are healthy animals. They're treated healthfully. They're not stressed. And I hope in most cases, this is what my goal is to understand the meat that I put in my body and that I feed my dogs. But they are then slaughtered in a very humane manner that doesn't create more stress. That's the goal. That's the way that it needs to be. I talk about this a lot, so I'm not going to go into it real deep right now. But the source of the foods, the source of the fat, the source of the veggies. Remember, organic, or know where they come from. Grow your own. Because the pesticides and the herbicides have been proven to increase the incidence of leaky gut. They are xenoestrogens, so they throw your hormones out of balance. They can collect in the tissues and the fats and then just create all kinds of junk. It's a mess. I don't care what anybody tells you, taking in chemicals constantly is never a good thing. Okay, moving on. Let's see, number 14. People with high blood sugar and or type 2 diabetes should not be eating a high carb diet. I'm not even sure actually what his response is here, but in my mind and in my practice, I think that that is true. Well, so let's back up. The problem is when we think of high carb these days, or when we think of carbohydrates, we're always thinking of bread and pasta and sugars and things like that. What else are carbohydrates? Vegetables. Vegetables are carbohydrates. So we want to make sure that we're understanding the types of carbohydrates that we're putting in our body. So if somebody has blood sugar issues and they have type 2 diabetes, I want them loading up on vegetables because they're high in fiber and high in phytonutrients and antioxidants and vitamins and minerals and all these things that are beautiful and feed our body. But what I'm not going to do is tell them to load up on fruit. Fruit for a lot of people is very healthy. Fruit for some people may not be so healthy for the time being. So, maybe some berries, kind of depends on where they are in their place of health. But I'm going to be really careful with even sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are some of the most amazing things in the world as far as I'm concerned. But if we're really trying to work on blood sugar, I'm going to really limit some of those good carbohydrates, but still they are maybe a little too sugary. Now, once we get blood sugars in control, if we've brought type 2 diabetes into control, and then we can start playing with bringing in some of the other healthy carbohydrates, healthy fruits, healthy, the sweet potatoes and root vegetables and things like that. Okay, let's see. Fat doesn't make you fat, but neither do carbohydrates. Again, that would go back to kind of the same concept, especially with the carbohydrates. True, carbohydrates don't make you fat. It's the type of foods that make you fat. Sugars make you fat. Processed foods, unhealthy fats, not healthy fats, but unhealthy fats will make you fat because the body doesn't know what to do with it. So again, inflammation, the liver is trying to, it's trying to process it and doesn't know how to, and triglycerides increase, and unhealthy LDLs begin to increase. So, the LDLs, we talked about this yesterday. I'm going to do another quick recap though, because I think it's important enough to talk about. HDLs and LDLs both can be healthy and unhealthy. We're told that HDL is healthy and LDL is unhealthy. This is not correct. It makes it easy for people to hear, I want to get my LDLs down, but it is incorrect. So the lower your LDL, the higher your risk of stroke. I said it yesterday twice, say it twice again today. The lower your LDL, the higher your risk of stroke. So we don't want to bottom out our LDL. What we need to remember is when we're doing labs, if you come to me, these are the labs that I do. I don't see it a lot, except for there are some cardiologists that are now doing it. Lots of integrative folks and functional medicine docs are starting to, or not starting to, they are looking at particle sizes of cholesterols. But when I have labs come to me from somewhere else, I don't often see it. I think it's very important. What we're looking at is, or what we're looking for is the particle size of the HDL and LDL. For both of them, we want big, fluffy, buoyant particles of cholesterol, because then they're in there doing their job. We have LDL that brings cholesterol to the tissue. Remember, it's good for the brain, cellular integrity, for bile production, and for hormone production. So we need, and many more things, but these are some of the big ones. So LDL brings cholesterol to the tissue. HDL takes cholesterol away from the tissue back to the liver to be eliminated or recycled. I'm losing my words again. So this is why they say HDL is the most important, because it takes the LDL away from takes the LDL away from the tissues, which is right. We want more HDL because we want the LDLs to be taken away from the tissues when we don't need them, those particular particles anymore. But if either HDL or LDL, if those particles become small and dense, that's when they're oxidized, that's when they're atherogenic, and that's when it creates a big, big problem. And so look at that. When you go to your doctor, see if your doctor will look at particle size. Don't know, but I think it's an important thing to see, because I've learned so much about a person when I see their HDL and LDL, and then I look at their particle sizes. It changes so much of what I do. It's really quite amazing. Anyway, so what makes small, dense particles? Sugar, processed foods, unhealthy fats. Those will oxidize cholesterol molecules, particles, and make them small and dense and atherogenic. Okay? Okay. Moving on. Junk food can be addictive. Absolutely. Dairy, sugar, gluten. Those things, and those are not necessarily always junk food, but they have the ability to bind to opioid receptor sites, and they give you a high. And so there are people that genetically are predisposed to having a more addictive genetic makeup or more addictive personality. So we hear all the time. I hear it all the time. I've said it myself in the past. I will try not to say it now, but I have to have my bread, or I have to have my pasta, or I have to have my cheese, or I have to have my Snickers bar, or whatever it is. I can't live without it. I mean, how often do you hear that? We hear it all the time, because it has such a hold on us, and because of the way it works in our bodies, or works on our body's biochemistry. It truly is amazing what it can do. So when we have this, it takes time, just like with any other kind of addiction, it takes time to move away from that and create new habits and break the old habits. It's not an easy one to deal with. I actually have brought on a health coach that helps me work with clients on things like that on a regular basis, because I have the things that I'm good at, and then she has the life coaching, health coaching things that she's really good at. So anybody that's in a program with me gets me as well as the health coach, and it's really a beautiful, sorry, somebody's at the door, I'm not going to answer it, but it's really a really great way of working with a client for to be well-rounded, I guess. Okay, moving on. Let's see, 17. Health claims on packaging should never be trusted. Duh. So health claims are just marketing. It's like saying something's all natural. Sure, it may be all natural. Doesn't mean a darn thing. And I wouldn't trust it. So there's the whole grain. Whole grain, really? I mean, whole grain means it's full of gluten and probably full of all kinds of processed junk. Then there's the low fat. We've hit on fat. We don't want low fat. If you're a genotype like mine, then you want less fat, but you don't want things that are low fat. So I eat whole fat, but I just eat less of it because that's what my genotype tells me, and that's what I know that I need. Let's see. So yeah, you'll find oh, here's a good one. So it says here you'll find all kinds of healthy junk food with health claims, unhealthy junk food with health claims on the label, such as whole grain, Fruit Loops, and Cocoa Puffs. So one of my favorites is like Wheat Thins. So Wheat Thins, you know, they have the food pyramid on there, which of course is totally dated, but still just makes me sick to my stomach. So this is healthy because we are supposed to have on the bottom of the pyramid is grains and breads and pastas. I don't even have to go into it, because if you think that that's the right thing, then we need to back way up and go back to basics. But it makes me crazy, and it's sad that big food has so many in the industry don't care about our health. But that's why we have to care for our own health and our own family's health. You know, I get so mad when I see, you know, the McDonald's or the Taco Bell, and it was just today, there was the nacho covered French fries. I'm like, oh, I just can't even imagine, although it sounds good. I mean, I would make it here at my house. But what I have to remember is it's not their responsibility to keep you healthy. It's your responsibility. It's my responsibility to keep me healthy. So if I see that and I'm like, oh, how cool would that be? Well, I'm going to go cut up some sweet potatoes, and if I want cheese, or if I do vegan cheese, and you know, I'm gonna make my own, which is kind of fun in and of itself. But it's our responsibility, and not the world's, to keep us healthy. But it still makes me, just grates on me that this stuff just keeps getting out there and is feeding the masses. Sorry, there's a hair. Okay, another soapbox that I will jump off of for a few minutes. 18, we've hit this already a little bit, but we'll talk about it. We'll touch on it. Refined vegetable oils should be avoided. Yes. So he lists soybean, corn, canola. Those are all genetically modified. The highest, you know, all of them are probably 93, 95% GMO. They're also all the highest in pesticides and herbicides, which we've already talked about. They're also high in omega-6 fatty acids. Now, let's touch on that for a minute. I don't know when I started, so we've only got a couple more, so I don't want this to go too long. But I want to talk about omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, because I think that's a really important thing to understand. So there is always balance. So omega-3 fatty acids are anti-inflammatory they're precursors to anti-inflammatory hormones, for lack of a better word. The term is eicosanoids. And then omega-6 fatty acids are precursors to pro-inflammatory eicosanoids. Both important and both in balance in the body. We need both of them. We have to have an inflammatory response if we cut ourselves, we have an accident. If we are in that fight or flight mode, you need Oh no, that's actually anti-inflammatory. Sorry. So we'll back up. If you have an accident, you cut yourself, you break your bone, that kind of thing, then you want that inflammatory cascade to come in because it's going to start to heal wherever was broken. And we have to have that or it's not going to heal. But it can't remain. So then you have the anti-inflammatory cascade come in to help to basically put that fire out and help the body and to finish the healing process. What can happen is when we eat too much of the omega-6 fatty acids, then we don't have enough of the omega-3 fatty acids. What happens? We have this chronic underlying inflammatory response that's just sitting in the body, and it's like this little, like coals, like those little hot coals that sit on a fire that are really super hot, but you can barely see them and they're almost undetectable. That's what's going on in the body, and so we need to bring that back to balance. And so if we're eating conventional meat is naturally, I would say unnaturally, because of the way they're fed, high in omega-6 fatty acids. And so that unnatural fatty acid balance will translate to us. So we eat a conventional cow, and its lack of health, its obesity, its omega-6 content, all of these things that I could just go deeper and deeper about, we eat it and it comes to us. So think about that when you're eating meat. This is all science stuff. It does transfer to us. Their omega-6 increases our omega-6. Their lack of omega-3 decreases our omega-3. Really, really important, okay? So the soybean, canola, and corn and cottonseed oil all are really super unhealthy, genetically modified, high trans fat foods that we need to stay away from. And just because we hear that canola oil is heart healthy, do your research. You don't have to listen to me. Do your research, but do not trust the canola oil lobbyists, or, as much as I hate to say it, medicine is telling us that canola oil is okay. It absolutely is not. And it breaks my heart when I see cardiovascular patients who have had some kind of cardiac event or a stroke eating canola oil because they're trying to save their lives. It's not doing it, okay? Stick with coconut, olive, don't cook with olive oil. Palm oil, if it's sustainably sourced. Lard and tallow. So lard, pork, tallow is beef. Fat, those are healthy, but remember, from a healthy animal. So a grass-fed, 100% grass-fed animal, their fat is healthy for us. Okay, but in depending on your genotype. So I want to make that very clear that just because some people can eat high fat doesn't mean everybody can eat high fat, which I'm included in that. I cannot eat high fat. Okay, I will move on. Organic or gluten-free does not equal healthy. Very true. It's hard when I ask someone, okay, I need for you for the next month, we need to try to go gluten-free. Let's see how you respond. Let's see how you do. And they respond, okay, well, I can get gluten-free crackers and I can get gluten-free this and that. It's like being a vegetarian but eating out of a box, right? You know, so it doesn't matter what our health needs are, what the foods are that we need to eat. We always have to think about what we're putting in our mouth. Fresh, whole foods is the best bet, always, not out of a box. Organic certainly doesn't mean it's healthy. And there's so many different types of organic. There's the organic where everything's 100% organic. There's the organic where it's 90% organic, depending on, you know, what the label looks like and what's in the ingredients, and some that are 75% organic, but it still says organic on the box. So we want to be really aware of that, because something like, oh shoot, I'm not going to remember what it's called. It's a corn derivative. It's a thickener that we see in everything, and it's a corn, usually, not always, a corn derivative. Shoot, it's not coming to me. Anyway, it's in everything. And it may be in something in a box of crackers or something that's all grains, not whole grains, no gluten, but it may be in a box of crackers. And there are a couple of things in there that aren't organic. Well, if it's corn derivative and it's not organic, it's probably genetically modified and high in pesticides and herbicides. So we want to be aware of stuff like that. If I can think of that, I'm going to tell you, or maybe I'll post it below, because I talk about it all the time. I don't know why it's not coming to me, but I'll post what it is below when we finish here. Excuse me. Let's see. And all can still be full of sugar and junk food. So just don't just see organic or gluten-free and assume it's good for us. Okay, last one. Blaming new health problems on old foods doesn't make sense. Probably why he has it last, because that's probably my favorite one. I think that that's just an amazing, amazing comment, because what we've done is we've started to blame our diabetes and our cardiovascular disease and our Alzheimer's and all of these chronic conditions on fat, on stuff that we've been eating for centuries, and even gluten. So I'm not going to go into it, but let's separate gluten from gluten the way that it was 100 or 150 years ago to gluten the way that it is now. So one's an old food and actually has the ability to be healthy. The newer food, the hybridized gluten, is not healthy for us. It is a problem, and it's a problem for most everyone. So understanding that fat is not a problem. Fat is healthy and necessary, but it's the right fat. Carbs are healthy and necessary, but it's the right carbs. Proteins, healthy and necessary, but the right proteins. And some need more and some need less. What am I missing? Fruit, healthy for some people, but not for everybody. So I think that that's a pretty good coverage of some of the things that we should all know out there. I think this is a great article. I posted it yesterday. I'll post it again today. If you have any questions, please let me know. You can post them below. You can go to my website, get hold of me, whatever you need. And then I will figure out something else fun to talk about tomorrow. So hope everybody has a great evening, and we'll see you later on. Bye.